In this video, we are exploring projectile motion, the motion of any object launched into the air under the influence of gravity alone, neglecting air resistance. It could be a missile, a football kicked by a player, or a stone tossed by a child, all follow the same natural law. The only force acting on them is gravity, pulling them downward. This means there is no horizontal force, so the horizontal component of velocity remains constant throughout the motion. Let's break it down. If an object is thrown at an angle theta, this is the angle theta, and the velocity with which we are throwing it is u. This is the initial velocity. The horizontal velocity or the horizontal component of the velocity is u cos theta, whereas the vertical component is u sin theta. Since there is no horizontal force, u cos theta will remain same throughout the motion, here also and everywhere, even before touching the ground. At this point also it will be u cos theta. But the vertical motion will be changing, or rather it will be decreasing due to the gravitational pull. And at the maximum height, the vertical component of the velocity becomes 0. After the particle reaches the maximum height, now gravity will pull it down and the vertical velocity will increase in the downward direction. And just before it hits the ground, the vertical velocity becomes u sin theta again, just like at the start, but the direction is opposite. So while gravity messes with the vertical part of the motion, the horizontal part stays steady, making projectile motion a beautiful mix of uniform and accelerated motion. Now let's visualize projectile motion in action. Here's a red colored particle that we are about to launch. You can adjust the angle of projection, but let's start with the classical 45-degree angle. That angle gives the maximum horizontal range, and fire. Watch the motion. It traces a smooth curved path in a single plane. You can change the direction or even the launch angle to see how it affects the trajectory. See, steeper angles of projection is actually reducing the range but increasing the height, maximum height. And smaller angles of projection is reducing the maximum height and also the range. This simple setup beautifully shows how gravity affects only the vertical part of the motion. Now let's focus on the vertical motion. The velocity of this particle u has two components, u cos theta, the horizontal component, and u sin theta, the vertical component. There is no force acting in the horizontal direction. However, there is the gravitational force acting in the downward direction, which will be pulling the particle in the downward direction and reducing its velocity. So the vertical velocity gradually reduces and becomes 0 at the topmost point. Then again When it falls, the velocity increases due to gravity, and finally when it touches the ground, the velocity becomes equal to u sine theta. Now let's calculate the time for which the particle stays in air, that is the time of flight. Here's the logic. The particle starts from the ground with a velocity u, the vertical component being u sine theta and the horizontal component u cos theta, which is not required for the calculation of time because time is affected by the vertical motion only. Initially the particle starts from ground and finally it reaches the ground, so there is no net vertical motion. So to find the time of flight, we can use the second equation of motion, which is S is equal to initial velocity u into t plus half at square, where a is the acceleration. This was the second equation of motion, and in this case, considering the motion is in one y direction only, the displacement s becomes 0. The initial vertical velocity being u sine theta, it will be u sine theta into t is the time of flight, that is capital T. We are denoting the time of flight by capital T. The acceleration is directed opposite to motion, so a will become minus g, and hence we can write minus half gt square. So this equation can be reduced to t is equal to 2u sine theta by g. Alright squad, now I'll be figuring out how high this projectile can actually go. That is the maximum height, which I have represented by capital H. To do that, we zoom in on the vertical motion only, because the vertical part is fighting the gravity whole time. The initial velocity in the vertical direction is u sine theta, and the final velocity, or the velocity at the maximum height, it has to reduce to 0, otherwise it will go further higher. So at the maximum height, the final velocity is 0, and now you can use the third equation of motion to calculate the maximum height or the displacement in the vertical direction. So let's go to the third equation of motion, which is given by v square is equal to u square plus 2as if the acceleration is positive, but in this case acceleration is negative and is equal to g minus g, and the final velocity is 0. So putting in the values, 0 is equal to u square sine square theta, and a will become minus g, so this is minus 2g into displacement becomes the maximum height, that is capital H, or H can be written as u square sine square theta by 2g. This formula can be used to solve numericals quickly, but initially I'll prefer that you use basic concepts and arrive at any conclusion or any result for any problem. The horizontal velocity is u cos theta, and it is the same throughout the motion. even just before touching the ground. So we can write that the horizontal displacement, which is represented by r in this case, it is called the range, so it is represented by r is equal to u cos theta into the time of flight, because it will move in the horizontal direction as long as it is in air. So we have previously calculated the value of t. This means r is equal to u cos theta into the value of t we arrived at was 2u sin theta by g. Now the result reduces to, since 2 sin theta cos theta is sin 2 theta, so it is u square sin 2 theta by g. So this is your formula for the horizontal distance traveled. Now you can see that the range will be maximum when theta is 45 degree, because when theta is 45 degree, 2 theta is 90 and sin 90 is 1, which is the maximum value for sine, and r will become u square by g. Alright folks, it's time to decode the actual shape of this motion. When we launch a particle under gravity, it doesn't just float or fly off straight, it follows a curved path. The curved path is called the trajectory. And the object in motion is called the projectile. For this, we choose a point on the path of the projectile and say its coordinates are x and y. That is, it has travelled a distance x horizontally and a distance y vertically. Now we know that horizontal velocity remains constant throughout, so we can use u cos theta into the time in which the particle reaches this point P. I am taking the time small t. So u cos theta into small t will give you the value x, or t is equal to x by u cos theta. Now, to calculate the value of y, we need to consider the acceleration due to gravity also. The initial vertical velocity is u sin theta, and from second equation of motion, then we can write y is equal to u sin theta into t minus half of gt square. Putting the value of t from the previous equation, u sin theta into x by u cos theta minus g by 2 into t squared means x square by u square cos square theta, which reduces to x tan theta minus g x square by 2 u square cos square theta. So this is the equation of your path of the projectile. This equation is an equation of parabola which means the path of projectile is parabolic in nature. You can memorize the equation, but don't skip the logic. Always go back to the basics when you are stuck. Now it's time to level up with the real JEE advanced problem. It's of 2024. The problem reads, a ball, here I have shown a red colored ball, is thrown from the location x0, y0, which is the origin 0, 0 of a horizontal playground with an initial speed v0. So the initial speed of the ball is v0 and it makes an angle theta 0 from the x direction. The ball is to be hit by a stone which is thrown at the same time from the location x1, y1, which is equal to L0. That means the position here is L. X coordinate is L from where the stone is thrown. The stone is thrown at an angle of 180 minus theta 1. That means this angle is 180 minus theta 1 with a positive x direction. So the angle on the other side is theta 1. For a fixed V0, when theta 0, theta 1 are 45 and 45, that means the ball is making an angle 45 degree with the x-axis and the stone is making an angle 45 degree with the negative x-axis, or actually theta 1 is 45 degree if 180 minus theta 1 is 135 degree. The stone hits the ball after time t1. For collision to take place, after a certain time, the ball and the stone must have the same coordinates, that is the same values for x and y. When the angles theta 0 and theta 1 are 60 degree and 30 degree, it hits the ball. In such case, we are to find out the square of the ratios of time t1 and t2, where t1 is the time for collision in the first case when the angles theta 0 and theta 1 are both 45 degree, and t2 is the time for collision when theta 0 is 60 degree and theta 1 is 30 degree. Let us consider the conditions given in the problem. The ball is thrown with a velocity v0 making an angle theta 0. The stone is thrown with a velocity vs, suppose, making an angle theta 1 with the negative x-axis. Then the initial coordinates of the ball are 0, 0, whereas the initial coordinates of the stone is L0. And the after time t, suppose the collision takes place after time small t, by that time the distance, horizontal distance rather, is traveled by the ball is x, as the coordinates of the point of collision I have taken x and y, and the horizontal distance traveled by the stone is L minus x. Now for the ball, x will be given by v0 cos theta 0 into t suppose it is the first equation we get, and y coordinate will be equal to initial y direction velocity is v0 sine theta 0, so v0 sine theta 0 t minus half gt square. And for the stone, x will be equal to L minus Vs cos theta 1t. Say this is equation 3, and y will be equal to say this is equation 4. Then from equations 1 and 3 we get V0 cos theta 0 t is equal to L minus Vs cos theta 1 into t, or Vs cos theta 1t is equal to L minus V0 cos theta 0 into t. Say this is equation 5. Then from equations 2 and 4 V0 sin theta 0 t minus half gt square will be equal to Vs sin theta 1 t minus half gt square. So we can cancel out minus half gt square. From here we get V0 sin theta 0 is equal to 0 Vs sin theta 1, or Vs is equal to V0 sin theta 0 by sin theta 1. So this is equation 6. So we got Vs is equal to V0 sin theta 0 by theta 1. Now we will solve for the time t when the collision takes place. For that we will put the value of Vs in equation 5, and that was Vs cos theta 1 t is equal to L minus V0 cos theta 0 t. So putting the value of Vs in equation 5, we get V0 sin theta 0 by sin theta 1 multiplied to cos theta 1 into t is equal to L minus V0 cos theta 0 t, or I am taking common V0 into t. From the left hand side I get sin theta 0 by sin theta 1 to cos theta 1 plus cos theta 0 equals to L, or V0 t into sin theta 0 cot theta 1 plus cos theta 0 equals to L. That means t is equal to L divided by V0, or V0 t into sine theta 0 cot theta 1 plus cos theta 0 equals to L. That means t is equal to L divided by V0. That means t is equal to L divided by V0 sine theta 0 cos theta 1 plus cot theta 1 cot theta 1 plus cos theta 0. Now we will shift to the specific conditions. In the first case, when the time of collision is capital T1, this theta 0 and theta 1 both are 45 degree. So solving for T1, theta 0 and theta 1 are 45 degree in this case. Then we have T1 is equal to L by V0 into sine 45 cot 45 plus cos 45. Putting the values, T1 comes out to be V0 or L by V0 into sine 45 is root 1 by root 2. Cot 45 is 1 plus cos 45 again is 1 by root 2. And this comes out to be L by root 2 V0. For T2, theta 0 is 60 degree and theta 1 is 30 degree. So the value of T2 becomes L by V0 sine 60 cot 30 plus cos 60. This is equal to L by V0 into root 3 by 2 root 3 cot 30 is root 3 plus cos 60 is half. So this comes out to be L by 2 V0. So from these from T1 and T2, putting the values of T1 and T2 in T1 by T2, we have 1 by root 2 by 1 by 2. 1 by root 2 by 1 by 2, because L by V0 will get cancelled out and this is equal to root 2. Therefore, T1 by T2 whole squared gives you 2.